Mr. Rokita.
The gentleman from Indiana is recognized.
Well, I thank, first of all, the gentleman from Arizona for yielding his time and for his leadership here in the House of Representatives, especially this evening with the good work that he's managing here on the floor. I know, being his friend, that it's a labor of love for him as for almost all of us, and so I just want to here, with record, thank him for his continued service in the House. I also want to thank the ranking member for his willingness in addressing and considering this legislation. It is important to the people of Indiana, and I'm grateful for his leadership as well. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of this legislation that I was honored to introduce and support in memory of the fallen soldiers of Fountain County, Indiana. Lance Corporal Josh Witsman was a Marine from Covington, Indiana, and was so very proud to have been born in the United States, and especially Indiana, which he often referred to as God's country. Lance Corporal Witsman firmly believed in the freedoms enshrined in our founding documents that have helped define our American exceptionalism. He felt humbled by, honored to, and responsible for fighting to uphold those very freedoms and standards which we talk about so often here on the House floor and that Americans talk about throughout the country. He was not only humbled to serve his country, but he was humbled to serve next to his fellow military brothers who he would often boast to about how great Indiana was. And, Mr. Speaker, he loved his family. He would often call his mother at home and sing the song, "Paint Me a Birmingham," only to swap in his hometown of Covington for Birmingham. He couldn't wait to return home to Indiana to be with all of them. Sadly, Mr. Speaker, that day never came. You see, Lance Corporal Josh Witsman died in the line of duty during his second tour of duty in Afghanistan while serving with Weapons Company, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines on May 30th, 2012. He was just 23. Josh's service and sacrifice were the inspiration for this bill, and it started with an idea from one of Josh's closest friends. That friend, Noah Townsend, was in the street one day, and he overheard a young Hoosier ask his parents who Josh Witsman was. That child's parents explained that Josh was a soldier who had given his life for her freedom. Noah knew he had to find a way to make sure Josh's memory and his sacrifice would be remembered in his hometown of Covington. Now, Noah racked his brain for a few days trying to think what would be a fitting memorial for Josh and this service of his. And later that week, Noah would be driving down Liberty Street, and as he drove past the post office, it, of course, hit him. Congress renames post offices for individuals who have made some contribution to their city, state, or country, and undoubtedly it's all deserved. Certainly, Josh's sacrifice and that of his family is worthy of recognition in any number of ways, including naming a post office in the city he called home. But recognition of his own work wasn't Josh's way. Before Noah Townsend came to me with this idea, Noah talked with Josh's parents. Josh's mother, Kayla Witsman, was thankful for the gesture, but she could hear her son in the back of her mind saying, "Mom, it's not just about me." And this young man who gave his life for his country, and his mother's interpretation of what his wishes would have been, I think is exactly correct. There are so many heroes that have given their lives for this country worthy of a similar recognition. In Fountain County, there have been nearly 50 families that have lost someone in service to their country. And let me assure you, Mr. Speaker, Fountain County is not a large population center in Indiana. As wonderful and as welcoming it is, full of great Hoosiers, it is a farming community. It's not big, except in geography. 50 families from that community died serving their country. Had someone die serving their country. Now that is why this legislation does not mention Josh Witsman's name. And I am proposing that we post office on behalf of not only the Witsman family, but all of the nearly 50 families in Fountain County who have lost loved ones in service to our nation. It is my hope, Mr. Speaker, that this will serve as an everlasting tribute to the sacrifices of these soldiers and their families. So in closing, I'd like to also thank the entire Indiana delegation, House delegation, for their support in this legislation as well. And on behalf of Josh Witsman's family and all those who have sacrificed, I urge my colleagues to support this bill, and with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.